All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the In Depth with Indies, Excessively Average Gamers podcast. We have Dave here. He's a
How you
young
doing?
developer. This is going to be a little bit different from our other podcasts. This is going to be more of a look at transitioning into developing after going to school and just trying to break into the field, which can be pretty difficult. And we'll talk to him about what he's working on, what his plans are for the future, and how what it's like to be a young developer today. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself there, Mr. Walsh?
Sure. I'm Dave. I'm 19 years old. I'm from New York, and I am the sole developer behind an upcoming mobile game called San Fran Terror. And yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to learn the ins and outs. I've been working on game developing itself, and there's so many things to cover. I'm one of those guys that started out doing 3D immediately, and I've been told I should probably have started on 2D games because they're a lot less intensive. But just throwing myself right into the fire, and it's been tough, definitely, because it feels like there's not a lot of people, especially in my age bracket, and especially around me in New York, that are developing and that want to get together and do that. So I've been doing the majority of the stuff solo. So it's a learning process, all of it.
Yeah.
I'll bet. You need to come down here to Austin, man. This is where it's at.
I would. Oh yeah, I would love to. I don't even know what developers are in Austin. Do you know any?
Yeah, there's a couple. One in particular.
I've definitely heard it. What?
There's one in particular, the one that I'm the most interested in, indie developer, who they're making a game called Smallville or Small Land.
Small Land?
It's
I haven't seen
basically
that one. What's that about?
it's basically you're like tiny people that are shrunk down to the size of like ants, and it's a survival game, but it's like you got
That's
to deal with
interesting.
like rain and bugs and frogs and stuff. It's
Everything's
pretty interesting.
explosive scale wise, so it's like
Yeah.
a big deal. I'd play that.
But
There's some big developers in New York, though. We got Rockstar Games. I know. I think there's Avalanche Studios. The guys behind Just Cause have in New York. So you know what I'm saying? So there's
Yeah,
definitely big
yeah.
studios. But as far as the indie scene, which is what I'm in right now, it feels like it's barren, like a barren wasteland.
Austin's more the indie side. I think there's a couple
Yeah.
of larger developers here, but honestly, I can't think of them off the top of my head right now.
Seattle's pretty good for indie stuff. That was like
Yeah.
the birthplace of Bethesda and a bunch of other big people.
It's rainy and depressing.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I've never actually been to Seattle. I would love to go though because I want to see that Space Needle. Isn't that where that is?
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're used to the East Coast rain. West Coast rain's way different. Here, it's wham, just going down, beating you down. And over there, it's like, oh yeah, just kind of.
Just kind of. Exactly.
Anyway, we should get back on indie games on topic. No one cares about the weather.
Yep.
No one cares about the weather.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Go ahead.
what is the idea behind the game you're coming up with here? Especially the name. Tell me a little bit about that because I'm curious.
Sure, I was actually kind of hoping you'd ask that. Well, I've prototyped and thrown out so many ideas and games over the past several years, and I think I just decided that I was ready. And to be quite frank, perhaps it was because of the amounts of absolute garbage that exist on mobile platforms now that I said, you know what? I'm not going to wait till I'm at my peak to release something. I'll release something and try to make it as best as I can now, but not try to achieve that perfection because I'm not there yet, and I don't want to be there yet. I have so much to learn. So I decided to make and release this no matter what. And the name comes from there was this. I'm always into those. I don't know if you see creepy pastas and stuff like that. I know this is probably the origin for a lot. You know what I'm saying? But there was this little video, and it was on this show where they try to disprove where people do hoaxes and stuff, and they try to disprove the Loch Ness monster and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And this particular one was about the San Francisco monster, I believe, and essentially what it was a blob with 2 legs, and it just prance across someone's lawn on a CCTV video, and they tried to replicate it, and they just couldn't. So they deemed that it was real, this particular show. Now,
Yeah.
me having the I figured, because like I said, I want to release this and I want it to happen. I don't want to do the whole arms and legs thing. I just thought legs would be easier. So this thing only has 2 legs. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a game about the San Francisco Monster. And it goes a little deeper than that, though. Initially, because the name came out obviously after the idea, though, because terror, it was initially Sodom, and I was going with a biblical approach. And I'm not very religious, but I figured it would be a good idea to have like a few set levels in something like how Crash Bandicoot, like you start and you have like the level portals, and then when you complete all the levels, you move on to the next realm or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially like that, but it would only have 7 levels because it's my first foray and everything, and each level will be one of the deadly sins, and that would be the theme of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hate to give away the whole game here, but I don't have the whole story set out yet because I'm doing it level by level and kind of letting the game create itself as I go, but I'm setting it at 7 levels, so when I hit that mark, then I can move on to the finale.
Mm-hmm.
And I just figure mobile platforms, I don't want to, like I said, the bar is a lot lower. Like if I were to release that on Steam, I'd want to make sure it was like crazy and like amazing and mind-blowing. But if I'm just playing it on my phone or expect people to play on my phone, I mean, like, go to the Play Store or the iOS Store. You can find some real piles of crap. No offense to those developers. Some of them spend a long time on their games. But like I said, setting the bar low for myself initially, get my foot in the door. And I'm telling you, it's just about learning for me. Like, I just want to keep learning and keep bettering myself. And that's really what it all stems from.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to, get a little portfolio together,
That's totally what I'm working on right now, yeah.
Just learn how it works and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, like, that leads into a thing like you talked about Steam being so full of stuff like that you can't find anything.
Oh yeah.
The App Store's got that problem a little bit too. So what's your big idea for getting your game to stand out, to really hit people that they'll want to try it?
See, the kicker there is a lot of it relies on, I feel nowadays as an indie dev, the little research I've done into marketing. I know it kind of sucks, but you're at the whim of these people they call influencers, and that could be either YouTubers, or it could be like people on Instagram, or it could be anyone who has a large amount of followers, and sometimes even the developers themselves. So I think my best bet, aside from making interesting mechanics that separate my game, because unfortunately there are some great games out there that get no recognition whatsoever because just no one plays them. It's just the sad truth of today's markets, is to get it in the hands of someone who's going to stream it, either laugh at it, love it, whatever the hell it is, and get that into the hands of their viewers. I mean, I'm not going to put ads in it or anything like that. This is a passion project type thing.
Okay.
So it's not like obviously, if I could make money off of it eventually, I would love to do that, because that's just like a hobby paying it for itself. It's like a dream. That's everyone's dream. But really, it's just for portfolio. It's just like a fun little thing. So for me, I mean, I've probably tried to get into the hands of YouTubers and stuff like that.
AKA us.
Okay.
we influence
Shameless
about
promotion.
3 people.
Yeah.
Those are 3 really cool
Listen, if
people.
you guys are the only ones that played my game, I'd be totally okay with that.
Well, and that's part of the reason why we want to do this podcast too, is because we love indie games. We love developers. We think it's a great art, and we want to try and shine a little bit of light on that, even if it's only to 3 people.
Yeah. No, it's really, that's what it is. It's about the love for indie games and all that, and it's great.
Yeah.
All right.
So how difficult is it to start a project like this? Like, how do you even go about? I have an idea for this game. What's the first step?
I feel like a lot of people are idea people, and they'll make these like crazy ideas, and then they'll be absolutely amazing. I've talked to some people and been blown away by the concepts they've come up with. But you have to, the first step in anything, I feel like, is setting your scope, and you have to do what's realistic. So I can take this and be like, yeah, this is going to be like an open world platforming. No, I have to realize that I'm one guy, I'm 19, and I have limited time to work on these things because I have to support myself. And you set your scope, and then you build off of that. so you don't go out of control. I haven't approached game design and development in a way that I plot every little minute detail out before I set forth, because I feel like I almost overwhelm myself. What I do is I'll have a general guideline of things. Usually, I'm big into story and stuff like that. I love games that have a great story. I think it's one of the best mediums for storytelling. So perhaps I'll start out with an outline for the plot and then kind of fill in the details, and then maybe like some levels based around a sword or something like that, and then I'll isolate the details of the sword as I come to it. And it kind of like almost build. It's a very organic like development style instead of like having everything, because I just feel like and it's just not fun otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. Doing it more improv.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can do that, yeah, I think that's a great way to do it.
Obviously,
I think it
for
allows...
bigger projects, it's kind of unfeasible. But for little stuff like this, it's better for me. I feel like I'm not stressing out so much,
right?
And I don't have to deal with like the feature creep thing going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you mentioned that you can't like do full time with this, so you're supporting yourself with something else. How are you doing that? Like,
I actually
have another job, 2 jobs.
Yeah, well, I just got out of training to become a gas pipeline inspector for NFS. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing that, and that's definitely not something when I was a little kid. What are you gonna be when you grow up? Oh, I'm gonna inspect gas lines. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But it's something that's gonna make me some money, and it's something that's gonna help me, support myself. And I think that although it's gonna limit the amount of time I can work on things, it's going to be worth it in the end, because if I save up enough, then maybe I could take a few weeks off here, a few weeks off here, and it'll be nice.
Do you play that guitar that's in there behind you? Because with that face, you might be able to make it, man.
Oh my God! Thank you so much. You're not too bad yourself. Well, that is actually from when I was a young little boy, and a little even younger than I am now. And my grandma bought me that guitar, so I've kept it ever since. It's long since, it's just half the strings are missing because, late night jam sessions, slamming the hell out of the damn thing. But yes, I do play guitar. I play acoustic guitar. I never really got into electric, and I actually have a bunch of friends that are in a band. I'm not going to say they're terrible.
Give them a shout out, man. What's the name of the band?
Oh my God. Okay, so they're on Spotify. You can find them. They're the Space Shack.
The Space
Shack. Very psychedelic. They're a Dead cover band. You wouldn't believe it. I'll tell you what, we got a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids that are playing the Grateful Dead music. So if you want to listen to that, go to Spotify, check out the Space Shack. They got one song. It's called Playing with the Clock. You can't miss it. It's great. It's really great.
There you go. Wow. Now you can tell them you gave them a shout out to
I can tell them that,
audience.
and they'll probably they'll be like, don't talk to us ever again.
How dare you?
How dare you?
All right, well, with how difficult it is to get into the development field, especially indie development, what is driving you to do this? What you wake up one morning and be like, you know what? This sounds like a really good way to torture myself. I think this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Well, it starts off with these ideas of grandeur. Like when I was little, I imagined all I did was I love video games. Like I love them. That was my escape. Like some kids are smoking weed, whatever. It's okay. I don't have a problem with it. But I was playing video games. Like that was my way to escape my world. And I was just growing and watch. I didn't just love the video. I was I was obsessed with the making of them as well. And even when I was really, really little, I remember watching making ofs and doing all these different things that got me interested in the background and all that. And as I got older and older, it became more like I wanted to create. And essentially where I'm at now, it's something that's evolved over several years, but I enjoy creating. You know what I mean? More than playing now. It's weird, but I am a true gamer at heart, so it's I game just as much as I make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think that's great.
But yeah, so I decided that at a very young age, and no matter what I'm doing, as long as I'm capable, this will be something I'm doing on the side.
That's great, man. It's great when you have a passion like that for something.
Someone shot me down. It's like they say passion. They're like, passion is... I bet a lot of people have that passion, but you got to have like you said, the want to torture yourself, because sometimes it can be torture, and some people just aren't up for it. It's
a lot of work for little return, at least at first. And
that's the kicker.
Yeah,
that's the kicker.
And you gotta be able to put that time in, put the work in, and not everybody.
Put the time in.
Most
Yep.
people actually aren't cut out for that.
I initially thought I was, then I felt like I wasn't. Now I feel like I am, and I'm sure in the next few days I feel like I'm not. It
Yeah.
just depends on how you wake up in the morning.
Oh,
But
I get
it's
that,
definitely
man.
not easy.
Yeah. Do you have any like games that are a big influence on what you're trying to do now, or that you would like aspire to?
That's definitely a good question. I feel like like all work is derivative to some degree, and I feel like I draw influence from I like a big thing that I'm into right now, and I guess I've always been into it, but like specifically right now are like those '90s point and click adventure games. Like I'm powering my way through Sanitarium right now, and I'm looking at some like Tim Schafer stuff from years and years ago, and just the way the stories unfold and the puzzles and stuff like that. I feel like that's a big influence for this project specifically. I know it's a platformer game, and that's weird, but just little quirky stuff. And if I could equate it to something, Psychonauts, like that's kind of on the other spectrum, like platforming and stuff like that. But just a weird, quirky world that exists, and each level I'd almost imagine like as a different sin, but also like someone else's mind in Psychonauts, which affects the aesthetics of the level, different mechanics and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, you're good looking too, Spencer.
Oh, okay.
I think
seems
so.
a little late.
I saw
Okay.
your comment in the stream.
You're
Oh,
not supposed to be paying attention to the stream. Come on.
oh, that's my job, sir. All right, sorry
It's
with that
overdue,
little
but I'll
detour.
take it.
No, it's fine. This is his good side for sure.
You gotta give him a little wink.
Yep. So, are you playing any of the like newer point and click games? Or are you sticking to the '90s for now?
Oh, I've played the most recent one. I played the Grim Fandango remaster, but that's not new. I played that other one by Tim Schafer that came out. There was a bunch of bullshit with the Kickstarter, Broken Age. I played that one too, and I want to get into this game that I've seen recently called The Cat Lady. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Oh my god, it
Like
looks
horror
incredible.
I
gotta
haven't
play that.
I haven't heard of
Oh,
this. For the
man.
people who are listening who haven't heard of it, what is this?
Well, from what I've seen, I don't know, Spencer, you might be better to describe this than me, but the plot, if I remember correctly, it's a woman, and something or another happens. I think she might have even committed suicide. It's really dark, and she ends up in like the afterlife, and she becomes like, she partners up with death, I believe, and she goes around like killing people, like rapists and stuff. It's really, it's
Oh,
really,
wow.
really, really dark. It's really dark.
Sounds
And
like
but
the
I think the
Punisher.
people you're killing are evil, like exceedingly evil people. So,
Yeah.
Let's just we don't condone murdering rapists and
definitely,
we don't
definitely.
murdering. Like,
Murdering
killing
period
what's
is
after
not good.
murdering is out.
there are no qualifiers, no murdering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've spoken a lot about Tim Schafer. So would he be kind of your role model in the industry?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think and this may or may not be after a series of dreams that I had, where I woke up in Double Fine Studios, and Tim Schafer was giving me a tour, and I was like walking around, and they had like glass floors with sharks swimming around, and I was like, whoa. And Tim Schafer was telling me, yeah, you just got to continue down this path. And this happened like 3 separate times. So now I'm going to say Tim Schafer is, in fact, my role model.
I thought you said you didn't smoke weed, man.
I didn't smoke weed. I'm not smoking weed. I didn't smoke weed before this podcast, please.
All right. Yeah. Especially with it being illegal, gotta.
Yeah,
Well, that
it
depends.
is illegal.
Depends on what state you're in.
Federal crime. But you know what's not illegal in New York? Salvia. And don't try that, kids. It's very bad for you.
That's true. Say no to
Oh,
drugs.
You know all
No to
about
drugs.
that, friends? You know all about the salvia?
Well, I know salvia the plant. Yes, I know all about that.
Oh, there you go.
There's
Hear
several.
that? We're experts. We've got it nailed down.
That's right.
There you go.
So, with you getting into indie developing, especially at such a young age, is it hard to explain to your family why you want to do this, and or friends? Like, they say, well, what do you want to do? And you say, well, I want to develop games. How is that received?
yeah.
Is that hard to get across?
Well, no. And that's I'd imagine it would be, but like, I guess because it's been part of my character for so long. Like, I guess for a lot of people, I was always into technology and stuff before even like at a very very young age. When I was a baby, I remember like playing with like they would tell me I would play with like computers and stuff like that. So I guess and my love for games, obviously they watched me play games my whole life. So it was only a natural evolution. Like so to them, like when I talked to my grandparents about it and stuff, I would like you would expect them to be like, oh, like what? Especially my grandparents, but they're totally like enthralled with it. Like sometimes I'll show them like a 3D model I made or something like that, and stuff that they find interesting, and they're like, yeah, keep up with it. And they're very supportive people. The key is to surround yourself with supportive people. But if you don't have supportive people around you, who gives a damn? Just do your thing, man. Like I wouldn't care if my grandma was like, yeah, get that shit away from me. I'd be like, I don't care, grandma. I'm still gonna do it.
That's great, man. That's really great. I agree. Having the support.
So do you think that helps a bunch, having them supportive there? Like your
It
family
definitely
and friends?
makes me feel less alone, because otherwise it's like I just have the thoughts in my head, and there'll be days when I feel like I'm not cut out for it, but then I, go downstairs or go outside or do something that's away from my computer and let my head kind of do a hard reset for a second. And I think, you got to come into every day like it's a whole new adventure, and you just got to attack the shit out of it. And there's so many things that I didn't know 3 months ago that I know now, and it's just there's so much. It's just you never stop learning in this field. You never do, and that's great to me. That's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I can tell just by talking to you and the way you talk about it, you have a lot of passion about this. So
Oh, I fucking love it.
that's
Excuse
great.
my
man.
language. I love it.
All right. So this game you're planning to just like push out there yourself, I'm guessing, because you're not really big. Like, oh, we're not going to have in-game videos to make money, or it's not going to be $5 game.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be free. I'm just gonna. Oh wow, lighting changed. My wallpaper just changed. I'm all green now. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm just gonna push it out, and it's really for me. It's kind of a fun thing. It's also for my portfolio. I want to ultimately, obviously, the dream is to have your own studio one day. But I think more realistically, I'll be a part of a studio, and in order for me to showcase what I would have and bring to the table, this could be something I would throw on there, something weird and quirky along with other things. And it's just nice to say, hey, you want to see the type of games I make, head over to the App Store and download this game. And I feel like that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So, is your plan to join another studio, or do you plan to make your own studio? To form your own company? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there are some incredible people who are able to just start from nothing and make their own studio and assemble. Just usually it's hard to do just on your own, but you have a group of like-minded people who get together and do things like that. But I think it's more realistic for me to build a portfolio, get myself out there, and try to join an existing studio, whether it be an indie studio or I imagine working in the AAA industry. That would be incredible. But you take what you can get. I would just love if I'm in the industry, regardless, even if I'm pushing paper somewhere, I would just feel great. And obviously, I'll always pursue my own projects on my own time, because that's what it is.
All right. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you plan to use social media a lot as you're getting this game built up, or like different streaming things, like streaming how you're making the game or stuff, or you just?
I'd have to calculate the. I know there's some people who are like streaming their development now. And I feel like I'd be too self-conscious, but maybe it would be nice because like people can like mess you in the chat. That's not what you're doing. You're doing it wrong. But maybe it's just anxiety that I have. But I think I'd have to calculate the what I'd have to put into it to what I get out of it. Because if I'm going to sit there and do a whole social media campaign and start contacting influencers and all this other stuff that goes along with that for a game that maybe. I don't want the entire world to play because it's going to be my first thing and it might not be that good. I don't know if I would. I have to get there and see. Well, I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
Okay.
I mean, again, that's not a bad idea. I think that could even be a side little income for you. Like I said, with that face, man, you need to get that face out there.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. Just when you launch the game, you'll see a big Big mug.
That's right. Just smile and you
Big
sell a million
smile.
copies. That's how you do it.
Change all the assets so your face is on the back, so everyone looks at them.
Oh
that's what
yeah,
they see.
replace every texture. You can. That's what I'll do. The pay. You can pay $1.99, and every texture in the game will just be my face.
There you
I'll
go.
just have an alarmed look. Like I'll be like,
maybe a wink emoji. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you get a
Oh,
kissy
yeah.
face. You know, that's I think we got a
that's the
business model there
premium
for you.
edition.
Well, there's people that would buy it, I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm sure there are some sick people out there who would buy that.
oh wow!
Uh,
Can't call them out like that. That's your crowd there.
Listen. I'm all for supporters, but if you're over the age of 65 and you're buying a 19-year-old's face smeared over the San Francisco Monster, I don't know what I have to tell you, but you probably shouldn't be playing my game.
I don't know. Hey, people like, oh dang it, it's that Super Mario 64 hack where everything is replaced with Toad textures. Like his
That's
face,
something
his mouth,
that's something I personally would play. And also,
And all
for the
the-
record, anyone can play my game. If you want to see my face smeared over everything, just send me an email. I'll make it happen.
There we go. That's-
There you go.
that's
There you go, chat.
Man.
There you go.
So when do you plan to have this game out? Do you have a timeline you're looking at?
I've set a timeline for around this time next year
Okay.
to have everything fully done and out. And I think that's an acceptable pace for, starting the job and everything, and the time that I've accounted for that I'm going to have to spend on this. If I didn't have this job, it'd be out a lot sooner, probably within the next 6 months. But, you got to support yourself. You got to get the bread. So that's just how it's going to work.
Yeah. Like, are you living on your own, or are your like parents or grandparents helping you out?
See, I am living. I am living on my own, but the
Wow.
idea is that I have such a great network of people that I'm able to kind of like crash here and crash there. I've been doing that for the past 2 or 3 years now.
Okay.
I live with my grandparents, or my parents initially. They got a divorce, and then I moved from there. Well, I was with my mom, then I moved with my dad, and then he didn't really like his wife. Yes, Laura, I didn't really like you. And what ended up happening is I moved with my grandparents, and then from there, I met a girl, as we all do, and I moved with her for a little bit, and then from there, I was like, I was just kind of like, I wouldn't say I was in a rebellious phase. I was just like, maybe I don't want to be in Cornwall all the time. I was going to the gym all the time and like bulking up, and I love that lifestyle, but I kind of wanted to explore a bit, so I started living at my friend's house and stuff. Not condoning this, kids. Do the right thing. And I was like kind of just all around for a while, and it was a great time. But now I'm kind of stable, so I stay between my girlfriend's house, my grandma's house, or my other grandma's house, or one of my friends' houses. So that's stable comparison to what I was, if that gives you an idea of how bad it was. But it's good now, and I'm happy, and I have my main rig. If you're wondering where the setup is, it's at my grandmother's house. So grandma's house it is, always.
Yeah. Hey man, at 21, I lived out of my car for a while.
Yeah.
It's better than where I was at.
Hey man, kids buy cars to sleep in all the time. Those race car beds.
Oh yeah.
Just step up.
Race car beds. I had one of those when I was little. Oh my god! I remember mine had like a canopy type thing. I would like draw with marker on the ceiling, all different stuff.
Yeah. See, that was it. That's where it started. Your art.
Yep.
It's just like
The
that
art,
race
yup.
car bed.
I don't even want to know the things that I drew on those, but I'm sure they were bad.
Oh, I like this
Nice.
guy.
No, thanks. I like you guys too.
Oh yeah.
So-
with your game. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm
Jump
curious.
in.
You had mentioned already that this is mainly a mobile game,
Yeah.
but the demo that I played was actually on the PC. Is there
Yes.
any plans to bring that over, possibly, or is it just
I'm
mobile?
gonna- I think I'm gonna do a dual release on PC as well. Obviously not on Steam, on something like Game Jolt or itch.io or something like that. Just
All right.
I don't want to hit that Steam level yet.
Right.
Maybe I'm old fashioned. But I believe
Old-fashioned
that if you're gonna release something on Steam, I'm gonna throw my mind back to years ago when it had to be something good. You know what I mean? And I think that I'm not gonna throw something on Steam that I'm not 100% confident with. I'm just not. I wouldn't want to do that. It's just not. I don't feel like it's the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Morals are good most of the time.
But money is nicer, of course, to some
Yeah.
people. That's the thing.
Not me. No.
No,
Yeah,
not me
definitely
either.
not.
So I played it both. Well, I did play actually some on the mobile, and then I also played on the PC. And right now it plays much better on the PC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I noticed on the mobile it has like a delay in the controls. At least on my phone it did. But on the
Oh.
PC it ran perfectly on the PC. So that's why I was curious. What because I know you're early in development,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it ran so well that I was curious.
it could be optimization things. Another thing on PC is that the control setup I have for mobile right now. Now, how about like when you jumped? Was it on time or did that have a delay as well?
Jump was on time.
See, what I think it is how I have the joystick set up right now because I'm using a mobile joystick setup. Is when you obviously when you're on PC, there is no acceleration in place. You just hit it and it goes max acceleration.
Mm-hmm,
But on mobile, when you have that joystick, if you inch it and stuff, it sometimes can get a little wonky. So I'm still to play around with those yet. But performance-wise, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Like if you see there's really no textures, it's just kind of flat shaded colors. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping to hit those marks. But that's probably what that is. The fact that there's acceleration on those joysticks.
Yeah, and I actually did notice now you mentioned it. I think you may be right because I noticed that like after you would stop moving, it would like keep kind of drifting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're probably right on that.
That's the kicker too. When you're one guy, it's hard to test things when you don't have like all the platforms. Like I have one Android phone. It's the S8. It's fairly new. I would love to test on older platforms and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have access to them, and people are always busy. I should probably like look online for people that would test. You know what I mean? I think that would be a good thing to do.
There's actually several Discord groups that we might be able to get you in touch with on that, and also too, if
that'd be cool.
any of you, if I could talk, if any of you viewers would like to help test any of any games for the indie developers that need testing, reach out. They may have some test builds for you that you can help them out there with, and also get your hands on a brand new game. Exclusive.
It's always a help. It's always a help, like, especially for indie devs, because a lot of them aren't these big studios that have access to all these different platforms, and you kind of just ship them out based on what the editor says or whatever you're using. And sometimes that's not always how it works. You have to test it on the platform.
Yeah, it's definitely like important to get as many testers, get that feedback.
Oh yeah,
good people who can who jump in a corner for 50 minutes, after that the game crashed.
Yeah, right. Those are the real guys. You gotta also have a really you can't have a thick skin all the time. I mean, you have to have a thick skin. You can't have a thick skull. Because if you have a thick skull and people is like, wow, this section really sucks, and you can't be like, no, this is great. You don't know what you're talking about. You have to succeed and be like, okay, how can I make it better? There've been plenty of times I feel like that's definitely an obstacle I've had to overcome as a developer. Is years and years ago when you're younger and my head's bigger than any other part of my body, and the idea is that someone will tell you that this isn't very good. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is my language. What are you talking about? Like, you're not good. But in reality, it's just not good. So you got to fix it. But that's part of becoming a man. You got to lower yourself down, humility, and the customer's always right.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he just doesn't like bad feedback.
No, that's something that I did. I ask for too in every part of my life, and sometimes people will say things it's a little hard to swallow. You're like, oh, really?
Criticism sucks.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to deal with it, especially if you're going to be making games, because you're going to get a lot of it. You're going to get a lot of it.
It's a very vocal crowd.
Very vocal crowd.
Yeah, and then
but it's good.
You could always get the opposite, though. Like, people love your game so much that they get obsessed and turn it into something you never really wanted it to be.
And then you're living in a hole somewhere, and your walls are made of tinfoil, and you're really scared.
That's right.
He's thought this through.
I have a bunker set up.
There you go. Man is prepared.
Yeah. And no one will be able to pin you down to one address.
Exactly. It's very hard to track me. I'm like a shadow.
You hear that, NSA?
Oh no! Don't. Yeah.
So getting back to your game. How would you describe your game to if you're sitting down with somebody, you're describing it to them? How do you describe it? What do you say that goes, hey, you want to play this game?
I think if I were to sit across from someone like an elevator pitch style, I'd be like, listen, dude, I know you played games before, but you'd never played something like this. And when he's like, why? What do you mean? Well, you play as a ball with 2 legs, and you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe this. But you go through certain levels, and they all have a different feel and style. And before you know it, a big secret is revealed. Just like No Man's Sky at the center of the universe, but a lot better, I promise you that. And then the elevator opens, and he walks out, and he's like, that guy was crazy, and he never plays my game.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe he's curious. He'd be like, oh, I'll give it a try.
I'll give it a try. The elevator door's shut, and I do a little dance.
Yeah, there you go.
So
And then you realize it was all on camera.
So I actually have the demo up on the screen right now for the viewers.
Oh, really?
So,
oh, God.
I'm actually curious. So the part that I played, and you can see it on the screen right now. So it's the platforming. You start from one end, you go to the other. But the name of the game and how you described like the idea for it was San Frontera. Like it's this monster, it's this blob. So.
Oh yeah.
What's the goal of this monster? Are we destroying buildings? Are we Godzilla? How does that work?
I think he's misunderstood. I think it's a complete subversion. The whole San Frontera thing, that's something I always wanted to touch on. And I think that's going to be an aspect of every project that I have any terms of controlling or anything like that, is I want to subvert like your expectations. So for San Frontera, there's going to be levels where it's going to live up to that name. There's going to be levels where it's going to be like, where the hell did he pull this out of? That's the whole idea there. But I think it's going to be, it's going to go in depth into what's inside the mind of the monster and why is the monster the way he is,
Okay. So I've got a smaller question.
Sure.
It sort of came up before. You talked about like having the levels different themes of being very different from each other.
Yeah.
So it's the first one's essentially platforming is the plan. Like then the next one's just a puzzle, then a mystery, point and click. But they're all so you're essentially trying to show 7 different ways you can design games. Is that it? As like a super showcase of your talent?
That's actually a fantastic idea, and if I rob that from you, I hope you don't mind. But that's definitely something of how I want to set that up. Yeah, I want it to be, but not necessarily feel like mini games, if that makes sense. I want it to feel like a whole cohesive experience. But that would be great. Wow, that's total portfolio game right there.
I thought that's what you said you were doing. Oh no.
That might be what I like. It changes week to week. Some days I wake up as a first-person shooter. Some days I wake up as the platforming game like Mario 64. It really depends on how I'm feeling, and that's the whole organic development.
How does he hold the guns with no arms?
With his mouth.
Oh, nice.
Just like Doom. What do you think the Doom guy hold the gun with? It's right there.
I'm in, man.
I thought it was with his pecs. They just squeezed
Oh my God, that's incredible. I don't even think my guy has pecs, but he's got a mouth. I'll tell you.
Oh,
can't wait to see that.
That's the big secret at the end of the game. What does his mouth look like?
Because he's got that fun walk when he's just walking on his own.
His
whole body.
I love that animation. He's got such a mean swagger. It's just like he's got to go where he's got to go.
I agree. I like it. Is he gonna have like eyes, or is it's just a blob?
That's totally placeholder. So the one I seen that I'm basing off in the video, I'm not basing everything off of a CCTV video. So I'm gonna take some liberties here and make some facial features and different things, kind of cartoony. But like I said, in some levels, it's gonna change. He might look a little different. It might be a little less realistic or more realistic in some levels, depending on how I take it. Okay.
So that actually brings up an interesting idea. So for the different levels. So you mentioned that like it's almost like it's something like Bigfoot, grainy pictures, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So are like some levels gonna be like through the view of a CCTV, or is it all from the monster's perspective?
I have totally already prototyped a like old Resident Evil style with the static cameras, and they kind of follow him throughout the level as you go, and that is a great idea. And I think definitely I'm going to coin in on that. You know, maybe in the game they'll even appear the famous scene where he runs across the lawn. Maybe that'll even be there, and you can
Nice.
see how he got to that point. I think that's all definitely going to be a part of it. Yeah.
All right. Well, you heard it here. Come here, and we'll give you great ideas that you'll be taking home. Yeah.
Seriously, this is like totally awesome. This is just great ideas.
Hey, you know, it's gamers. We love games, man. So
Yeah.
That's the thing. You have to keep your mind open and talk to people and get ideas, and but always keep your mind in check and in scope, because if you start going crazy, I've had so many things that I've just started adding and adding and adding to the point where I'm like, I'm sick of this. I don't want to do it anymore. And that's a terrible feeling to feel on something that's like, it's like having a kid that grows up to be something terrible, and then you're like, oh God, you want to abandon it, but you can't because it's your child.
Yeah.
So you just put it in a folder somewhere on your computer and never touch it again.
yeah.
Had there been any like game-breaking bugs first in your child? Any, like weird things that you just like programmed in? Oh, this will work. This extra jump, and then he goes and he just crashes through all the floor.
Well, I had a charge jump set in the game, and I had to take it out at the last second. And this is just something for this specific project. This happens all the time, different things. But basically, you would hold the jump button, and then you would release your finger or the space bar. And while you're holding it, he would lock into this animation where he was like a spring, and then when you release it, he would spring up. And for some reason, I couldn't find in the code what was making it to continuously repeat, but only when you charged it, that when after you released it, no matter how long or short that you held that button, he would infinitely rocket into space. So it made the game unplayable. And I spent hours and hours and hours. I could have been doing actual things that would have advanced the progress of the game, trying to figure out why he would do that. So I decided to just take it out. And that happens with things. Like sometimes you'll be working on something and you're like, I can't figure it out. So you just get rid of it. And sometimes you'll be better off without it. But for that, I'll probably iterate on it, because I want that to be a feature of the main game. Perhaps not throughout the entirety of the game, but it could be a theme of a level. Maybe he loses one of his legs or something, and he's forced to charge his jumps or something. You know what I mean?
Or you could just turn it into a space level, and you decide not to fix it. Instead of a bug, now it's a feature.
That's amazing. That'll be the last level. I'll just throw it in, and he goes back to his homeworld. You just hold it, and you let him go. There he goes. There he goes.
Oh my gosh, we need to stop giving away secrets. We could write our own game here.
We could. We got ideas for the sequel in this video. Listen, people will be going back here. This is an outline for the entire 3-part series. Very similar to God of War, but not quite.
Well,
You heard it.
Then
It's gonna be just like God of War.
Just like God of War.
All right, so that means you heard it here first. Episode 4, Son of the San Frontier.
Son of the San Fran Terror.
There you go.
Wouldn't believe it. Boy. I want to see this happen.
So
I won't stop you.
I might go right from 1 to 4, because I'm not spending time between those. Those don't matter. We need to get right from this to the Sun. We'll make the other games as prequels.
There you go.
There you go.
That'll work.
Oh, yeah.
So this actually sounds like a fairly original idea. I haven't quite heard of anything like it. So, what do you know of any competition out there for it? Like the same. Obviously, there's a lot of platformers, but is there any kind of in the same vein that you know of?
Direct competition. Fortunately enough, I think I'm too crazy to have to deal with that. I think it's going to be more of the indirect competition with, if I want this to get big and like make numbers and succeed, it's going to be with like the ones that already exist. Like those kids love to hop on those clicker games and stuff like that, not downing them. But it's very hard to compete with such a massive industry. And now that Fortnite's on mobile platforms, well, I have no chance.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of indirect competition. But I haven't had any copycats yet. But there's always a chance. But good luck mimicking what goes on inside here, because I'm definitely certifiable.
Yeah, and then next week it'll be a completely different game, like you said.
That's the thing. It's very. It depends on how I'm feeling, and feeling is a very loose term, because it's like multiple personalities. So please help me, please.
I get that too. Even with just the podcast, sometimes you're like,
I think
super
any creator
gung-ho.
gets that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Have you had any do you feel like your age has become an issue yet, or do you think it will be in the future?
I don't think it's become. I haven't put myself out there enough for it to become an issue. In fact, I feel like it's an advantage right now, in a lot of ways, because when I talk to certain, like I've been reaching out to developers and stuff like that and talking to them, and they feel like they're inclined to help me in the way they act. Like I feel like almost humbled because it's like, I feel like I don't even deserve that help, but they talk to me and stuff, and they give me tips on what my future should be. And now I'm not starting so late in the game. I'm starting early, so I have so much more time to learn and everything. And hopefully by the time I'm the age of some of these people who are just getting into it, I'll be ready to be in a studio. That's the whole idea there. So it is almost like an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage in the aspect that I don't have many friends who are wanting to develop games. Or maybe they are, but they want to be at the top instead of, working your way up from the bottom, where you have to be in anything. It's just how everything works. You can't just start at the top.
Well, the indie community is it's really a close knit community. Like, I've never gotten any negative vibes or bad. I can't think of words right now, but you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Everyone I've talked to, everyone I've reached out to within the community, like they're super helpful. They want to be a part of it. They want to help each other, and I think that's great. So I can definitely see how that could be great for a developer starting out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the indie community is a very welcoming place. I don't know what the AAA community is like, but I'm sure it's probably a little less welcoming, from what I understand.
Yeah. It's a lot more competitive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you think the lack of like big CEOs overlooking everything, saying, "Oh, you don't need that. It's not gonna make enough money. You can just cut that out, cut this out." And
I'd rather cut something out because I want to cut it out. I don't want to cut something out because someone tells me to. But just like anything else, unfortunately, money has to be made. So if you're not hitting deadlines and stuff like that, it's a necessary evil, I guess. When you're in the corporate world, but it's just how it is. I mean, it's a painful thing. Maybe I'll get to that point and the passion will be ripped out of me, and then at that point I don't know what I'll do. But for right now, I'm enjoying it. This is like the golden years, so let's call it that.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Kojima was in there for a long time in that kind of area, and he never lost his craziness or his passion.
That's very true. And he's an incredible man. That guy, he really is. I don't know how, but I'm so glad that we live in an age where journalism, there exists enough of it where it's not like it can be swayed, but we know the whole situation there and what happened with Konami and all that. So he was able to be supported afterwards instead of just ousted, and then Konami would come out and say all this bad stuff about him. Everyone's like, "Oh, that guy's a jerk." But now he was like, "No, I'm not a jerk. I actually make pretty good stuff, and I'm a good guy." And now we have Death Stranding.
Yeah, eventually.
Hopefully.
Sounds like half as crazy as your game that you're trying to make.
I can't wait to play that. What's that going to be like? That's like inspiration for me. Just this complete, bizarre craziness. I love that. Just Norman Reedus naked on a beach with a baby in his arms. That's exactly what I'm going for.
That's what I dream about at night.
No, that's quite the dream.
Cutscene for the son of the San Fran Terror.
There you go.
Oh my God! What if? All right, I'm not going to say anything here. But what if? What if this is all just a ploy? San Fran Terror. It's the tie-in to Death Stranding, and San Fran Terror. So the Death Stranding is San Fran Terror Episode 4, Son of the Terror, and Norman Reedus is San Fran Terror, and the baby is the son. Oh, not gonna say anything, Kojima. You know my email. I'm here.
Yeah, we got it.
So, what's been the funnest part of making the game for you so far? What have you enjoyed the most?
Probably just the I want to say, developing always, like when you're actually taking these crazy ideas you have, I've kind of made that fun for myself in a way, because I'll even be working on assets and stuff, and I'll be like, I'll start off making like a hill, and I'll be like, wait, that doesn't look like a hill. It looks like something else. And then I'll make that into something else, and then I'll be like a quarter of the way done with that, and I'll be like, that looks like something else. And then by the end of it, I have this other object than what I started out with. You have to be careful with that, though, because sometimes you'll sit hours in front of a screen playing with a circle till it looks unrecognizable, and then you'll realize you've got nothing done for the day. So a big thing I do is set timers for myself. So say I'm going to make a rock. I'll set myself like 5 to 10 minutes to make this rock and texture this rock. So I'm not like, if I want to make slight changes, it's okay, but I'm not going to take a rock and make it into a car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, because that's the only way I can do it, because hours will fly by. I won't eat. I won't drink. I won't even go to the bathroom. I'll just sit here until my body implodes on itself, playing with rocks.
Yeah. Oh man. So you want like this is gonna be a showcase of your talents, and you're talking about all these different things you're doing. What's the big thing you want people to take away from this game that you can do? That you can program, that you can make art assets, that you can write great dialogue between someone talking to themselves.
I definitely don't want to be I don't want to be like a jack of all trades and a master of none. I'd rather be a master in one thing so I could be a part of a great team. But I think what I want people to take away is that regardless of how bad or good it is, that it's cohesive. I want it to all be cohesive and have a central tone and theme, and I think that what the takeaway should be, that I can form these things into a cohesive experience, because that, I think, is very valuable.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. But if you say you want to specialize, well, what are you trying to specialize in? Which part of the development process?
Again, I wanted to be, for the majority of my life, a programmer, so I started learning different programming languages and stuff like that. But then I started to feel like a code monkey, just staring at a text editor all day. So I realized that I can do all the programming in the world, but if I just have placeholder stuff, that no one's going to play it, and it's not going to look good. So I started to get into 3D art, and essentially I'm starting to fall into that crevice. I really am enjoying myself in that because it's just so, you can do anything you think of, you can make pretty much, and it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Now we have VR headsets where you can make things in VR, and it's like, I want to be, and then 3D printing and all that, I want to be in that spectrum. But we'll see where it goes. I'm trying to have an understanding of everything, so no matter what position I land in, because you really should, I feel like, if you're making games. If you're, say, a 3D developer, and you're like making 3D art assets, you should know like what's going to work in a level and what's not, and like poly counts and all these things, that it all goes together. So having a general knowledge of everything is great, but in terms of specifications, I'd say right now I'm probably leaning towards 3D art.
All right.
What program do you use?
I try to keep it mostly free. So right now I'm developing the game in Unreal Engine 4, which is free to a certain point, and then they take revenue away depending on how much money your game makes or something like that. I haven't had the need to read the licensing stuff. But then there's Unity, which I've worked in before, which is also great. And I also, for 3D modeling, I use Blender. And oh god, Blender's amazing. I don't want to be a shill for Blender, but if you haven't used Blender, and even if you never 3D modeled before, definitely give it a try. There's so many things that you can do with it in terms of video editing. I mean, it's got a built-in video editor. There's like special effects if you're doing video. So it's not just game stuff. You can do. It's a great skill to learn, and it's free. So you have nothing to lose. Go try Blender now.
You hear that, Blender? This is a sponsorship opportunity here.
Sponsorship opportunity. San Fran Tower, made in Blender.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just wait till you get into the music side of things, and then you're like, I love those programming 3D art, but I'm gonna music for games. That's it now.
That's it. FL Studio, open it up. Music for games. Actually, I have an interesting. You know what I'm using to make the music for San Fran Terror, aside from the actual composition program, is there's a thing, and I know it's a thing. It's a special thing, but it generates music, and I kid you not. You may think that's cheesy and cheap, but believe it or not, you can like set the different. I'm gonna give you guys a link. Can you show that to people? It's absolutely incredible. I think it has to do with some college or something. Like there's this whole page like how it works and about. It's like based on science and all this stuff. But you'll like 9 times out of 10 you'll make something crap and it sounds disgusting. But if you sit there for a while, like that tone wise, you could set loops and stuff, and then you take that into your own program and edit it, and it enables you to make music without actually having to sit there and make music. So there's that link right there, and you could send that to everyone. But it's just an incredible thing I found.
We'll have that down in the description if you're interested. We'll throw that down in the description for the stream, and you can check it out there.
So many possibilities, infinite possibilities, and for something where you want to keep things tonal and stuff, you can even set pitch values and stuff like that. So it's a very unique thing, and hopefully that website doesn't go down. Otherwise, San Fran Terror won't have music.
So we're coming up on the hour mark here, so we're gonna start wrapping it up so we don't drag people out.
I can't believe it's been an hour. I can't believe it.
I've really enjoyed this. We'll have to have you back on whenever you you release it. Keep us.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely come back,
man, because we
definitely
want to hear from you again.
But thank you for having me. I had a great time talking to you guys. I I hope you enjoyed the insight I had.
I have one final question for you.
Sure.
For any young developers out there who are wanting to get into it, they've just like you, they've had a passion for it, they want to do it. What's your one piece of advice that you would give them to help them in their journey?
Don't stop. Keep beating the hell out of it. It's a speed bag, it's a heavy bag, and you just gotta beat the absolute crap out of it. Beat it like it owes you money, and don't stop. Don't stop, because it's not gonna get easier. It's not gonna get harder. It's gonna remain the same because you're gonna keep learning, and it's gonna always be hard. But you gotta do what you gotta do, and that's life. It's gonna teach you a lot about life.
Well, that's a great bit of advice there. Just for one more time, how can people reach you, and the name of your game, and where you're going to release it to?
Sure. So I can be reached at my email, which is povgam.dave.w@gmail.com. I'm going to release the game when it does eventually come out, fingers crossed, on Game Jolt, itch.io, and the Google Play Store. And what else? What other information did you want besides that?
Just where you're going to release it and everything like that.
Oh well, yeah, I'm going to release it on itch.io, Game Jolt, and mobile. So I'm not going to release it on iOS as of yet. I would love to, but
In your
I
face.
think I have to. It's a much more stringent guidelines, I guess. And I haven't released anything on iOS before, so perhaps that may be in the pipeline. But it would definitely come as an afterthought once I get everything else released. But yeah, so primarily reach me at my email, like I said, and you can email me anytime. Even younger people that have any questions, older people that are interested in what I'm doing. It doesn't really matter. I'm open for anything. So.
Well, all right, everyone. There you have it. San Fran Terror. Be sure to check it out whenever he releases it. We'll be sure to have him back on the show after it's released and make sure everybody gets to play it. This is Excessively Average Gamers. Byron signing off. We got Spencer.
That's right.
And Dave here. So
Goodbye.
All right, see you guys.